Thank you all very much for joining us. This is the December conversation at the center. Appreciate everybody being here. We have great turnout. So we're just going to go ahead and dive right in on this. The first one we like to talk about is a question from the public. And this is, it says, who fills out the form? And the form they're talking about is our DOA, or dead on arrival forms. These are animals that are hit by cars, and then we get them here, and then we post them, the information we post in our lobby on clipboard, so the people can come in and take a look at the animal or take a look at the board and see if those are their animals. So it says, who fills out the form, calls the owner if chipped, and why isn't all of the form filled out so the owner can know for sure it was their animal? A few blanks on a few forms, not all the forms, dogs and cats. All right, so I want to read to you from our SOP called our Standard Operating Procedures. It says, for DOA processing without ID, you print the kennel card, write on the kennel card the address and cross street the animal was picked up, and then you place on appropriate clipboard in the table in the lobby. Okay, that's without. With ID, you make an attempt to contact the owner. And this, an ID could be a thing around his collar, could be a microchip, anything that allows us to contact them. And then it goes on to talk about holding on to the remains and putting a tag on. But to go down to the next, if owner contact is not made, fill out an animal remains tag with a 5-day hold. So we hold on to the remains for 5 days, print kennel card out with location found information and place on clipboard. Now I had Michelle, I had her go and grab the DOA form or the clipboard. I'm looking through those. Every single one of them had a cross street of like Loman and Missouri, you know, something like just a cross street area. Usually we don't have, you got to remember, ACO and us are two totally separate entities. And sometimes that's all we get from animal control. So all the information on that form, I can't call it a form because it's not something you fill out. It's a kennel card that we print out of Shelter Love. So all the information on that kennel card is from the animal control officers. We merely hit print and then we handwrite the location of where that animal was found deceased. So if the animal control officer does put all the information in, like sex and weight and color, all that, then that will be on there. But if the animal control officer doesn't, a lot of times they can't tell sex on a deceased animal hit by a car or something like that. They definitely can't tell if it's been sterilized or not. But if they don't put that information on, you got to remember, our front staff never see the animal. It's bagged and put in the freezer. The only time we would see an animal is if somebody brought it into us as like, I hit this animal or I killed this animal, then you'd probably get a little more information. Also, animal control does not weigh the animals that are deceased. There's not really a reason for them to weigh them. It's another step that they cut out of the process. Usually weight is to see a couple things. Weight for if any drugs or anything needs to be administered, vaccines, and then also weight can be done to make sure the animal's healthy, if it's gaining weight or losing weight. And when an animal comes in dead, you don't need to worry about that. So I hope that answers the questions that was asked. Michelle, is there anything extra you'd like to add on to that?
I think that's about it. I mean, we can always, if the customer comes in and comes to the front staff, they can look it up and see if there's any further information such as memos or something, but it's rarely in there. That's pretty much, that's why we chose the kennel card, because it has the most information except for the streets. That's why we write those on there.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, next question is, prior to the suspension, and the suspension this person's talking about is the suspension of public trap, neuter, return, or public community cats coming in. Prior to that, that we don't do surgery for anymore. This is prior to the suspension, how many trap, neuter, return intakes are public versus ACO? We designate public, a public TNR is somebody that pays for the TNR. So prior to the suspension we did, we had 197 paid public trap, neuter returns. And that was from August 27th until the suspension date, which was 2 weeks ago, I believe. So 190.
11/18.
November 18th. Thank you, the voice from above. All right, projection as to what period of time TNR for cats, kittens brought in by the public needs to be, well, it says projection as to what period of time TNR for cats brought in the public needs to be suspended. So how long will the suspension happen? That's what I'm getting from that question. Basically, I'm going to use a generic form, sorry, Kathy, and say until further notice. We totally underestimated the amount of animal or amount of community cats that were brought in. And that kind of goes to the first of the next question is, why didn't the shelter limit the number of intakes and widely publicize the limitations of TNR at the start of the program? We were running our program off of what the city animal control was bringing in prior to the August 27th limitation. And we had 2 years of data we were looking at. We weren't really looking at 2020 because of the odd year that was with COVID. So we're looking at 2019 and 2018. And that's the numbers we were judging on. You guys, since August 27th, those numbers were blown out of the water. I'm not sure if it was, well, I know it was because people heard that we were not going to euthanize those cats anymore. That animal control, Gino told me that almost doubled the amount of animal or the amount of cats being brought in, the amount of animal calls. So it's interesting to see that dynamic, that a lot of people, maybe they're more likely to have an animal brought into the center and picked up by animal control and brought to us because they know that they won't be euthanized. Also, another one is that maybe the public is using animal control as a means of transporting their animal to us, or community cat to us, instead of bringing it in. So there's a lot of different ways or reasons why that number is so high, but we greatly underestimated what that was going to be. Another one is that, and this kind of goes into one of the questions here towards the bottom is that we are doing this increase with no increase to our budget, our medical budget. And that's hindered a little bit. We're feeling the squeeze a little bit on that because the animals that this money would be going towards, for instance, foster to adopt animals, or the animals here in the center that can be adopted for sterilization, all those animals we're not getting to because we're doing this trap, neuter, the community cat program. Also, another one is that we've been kind of absorbing the county cats into the program prior to the August 27th city start date, because there's nothing in the ordinance for the county that says we couldn't do TNR. And so we've been doing those ever since I came on board. And now the city's kind of crying foul, saying, well, if you're doing those, why can't you do ours too? So we have to come up with that logical billing for that too. Also, I have a good statement here from one of our managers. It says the ASCMV has no way of limiting the number of intakes other than attempting to work with owners and finders to seek alternatives to impound. There's currently no MOU in place between the ASCMV and the city or the county to say how many animals, what types of animals, or what condition of animals we will accept from the officers. There's only the JPA, which says we are to provide animal sheltering services. Therefore, officers will bring in whatever they decide, they need to bring in. All right, next, at the end of the suspension, oh, I already read that. It has been reported that only 10 cats or kittens for TNR can be placed on the shelves outside Dr. Haddon's office. Several members of the public have asked if that means any community cats, kittens in excess of that amount will be euthanized. Please speak to this. All right, so yes, we did come up with an arbitrary number of 10, seeing that that's the number that we would comfortably be able to do at a surgery time. However, this greatly depends on the amount of animals we get from animal control officers. And I'll give you an example of that. Last week, we had over 25 animals, 25 community cats come in over the weekend. This, or last weekend, the Friday, the Saturday and Sunday, we had 15. So a lot less. So that means that we can hold on to or have more TNRs. Right now, when I went back there to talk to Dr. Haddon this afternoon, I think there was 5 that had come in. So this number is just going up and down, up and down. So for me to say, to give a number, straight off number, that wouldn't be fair to the cats, nor would it be fair to staff. Here we are trying to be life-saving, and there's room, but we're not utilizing that room. So it's a constant give and take for that. However, to be perfectly transparent, if that is full and we're out of traps to hold on to, then yes, we will have to euthanize some cats that are brought in by animal control. Next one, if one of the responses to the notice of suspension on Facebook, you noted, I think that was me, noted that the shelter was not stopping TNR for cats brought in by animal control. Are you in fact encouraging, suggesting people trap community cats and call ECO? I'm going to leave that up to interpretation. If that's what you interpret it as, then that's fine. If not, I mean, I'm not saying yes or no to that. In the same Facebook post, you noted a space problem. Can you please explain? Because if community cats are brought in by the public or the designated surgery day, they are to be picked up on the same day. Did the space problem occur because intakes were not limited and appointments not required? So when I said space problem, oh, Dr. Haddon, you're wiggling your fingers. You want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to address what you said previously when we're leaving it open to interpretation, and I understand that if a public chooses to have the ACO bring it in, there are no guarantees as to the outcome of that individual. Just as long as folks know that.
That's a good point.
That's a caveat. Okay, that's all.
All right, so when I stated it's a space problem, I didn't mean that there's no space for the cat. What is meant is yes, we are limited on the space for the cat, like recovery kennels, but as far as surgical positions, it is extremely limited. And we try to do our best to mix in, have a ratio of any foster to adopt animals that have come of age that are now need to be sterilized, public sterilizations, meaning animals that have reclaimed from us and need to be sterilized, any public sterilizations from SNAP that we've teamed up with, that those that fit that criteria, we have to fit those in, and shelter animals that also need to be sterilized prior to adoption. And then there's also rescues that may want to have animals brought in for sterilization. So all of these things need to be figured in, and so that's what I mean by space. Couple that with our limited number of veterinarians that we have that do only limited number of days and limited number of surgeries. That's the space issue I'm talking of when I say that. Paul said something here. He said the biggest space issue is a matter of how many surgeries can reasonably be performed by a surgeon in a given day, and how many other animals must be sterilized that aren't community cats. Community cats are only a fraction of the types of animals we must sterilize each surgery day. We must also sterilize animals living at the animal shelter, animals in foster homes, animals going to rescue partners, animals being adopted, and animals being reclaimed by their owners. Based on all that must be sterilized, we've determined that we can fit in approximately 10 community cats for each surgery day from our general population. This does not include cats being brought to us from the public for community cat medical services. Next question. If AC or animal control is called to a trapped cat or kitten that has been TNR'd or trapped to return, what is the protocol for them? Are they being logged as trapped and then can release, or are they being brought to the shelter again? All right, again, I have no say or rule over what animal control does, the policies or procedures. I can merely suggest things. So this is what we've asked. I can tell you what we've asked. We have asked the animal control log that information into our shelter system, that the animal has been trapped, and then they release that animal. That is what we've asked. Now, we have had both of these situations occurring. We've had some animal control officers making the notes, making the memos, and releasing the cats. We have also had some animal control officers bring a cat in that has a tipped ear. So I'm working with the animal control supervisor and also the police lieutenant over city animal control supervisor. So hopefully we're going to be able to get it figured out and they can get on board with releasing that animal there in the field. How much of a problem is it the city has not yet allocated any funds for the program? And please be specific. All right, so I mentioned this before. Medical funding, we are starting to feel a strain because that money could go to different areas. I don't have any specific amounts to you right now to be specific, but I can say yes. Is that specific enough? I don't know. What entity is responsible for returning cats brought in by animal control to their neighborhood? All community cats that have come in as regular intakes from either animal control or the public are physically returned by members of the Animal Service Center in Mesilla Valley following the community cat processing, which is sterilized, ear tip, vaccinated, microchipped. It is only those community cats that have been brought in by a member of the public that actually get released by someone other than ASCMV staff. And that was from Paul. You did a great job answering that question. What steps need to occur and what is the plan to get the program back on track? So I like to backtrack through things. So what's the problem we have is the public side of our sterilization, our community cat has been suspended. Why has it been suspended? Because we don't have enough surgery places or surgeries taking place. Why don't we have enough surgery places taking place? Because we don't have enough veterinarians. And why don't we have enough veterinarians? Well, I would like, if everybody here would please go get a veterinarian degree and specialize in shelter sterilization, that would be grateful. So we have a veterinarian problem. If we were able to get more contract vets and we're able to get a full-time veterinarian, then we would be able to do more surgeries for that. So that comes up to the next question is what other solutions have you explored for TNR? So those solutions, we have a little while ago, we did talk to some veterinarians in private practice, and it is outrageously expensive to do cats. And for a while, we were sending cats, especially with some money that we had with the grant. And that money went pretty darn quick for it. And some veterinarians were, we only had 2, if you remember right, 2 out of all the veterinarians here in the county. And one of those was cats only. So it was tough, but that's also some things we've done. We looked into canceling the program altogether, and that wasn't favorable. We didn't want to do that. We talked about going to the city and asking the city to do an injunction or a stop on the ordinance and give us time to figure things out. But we didn't want to do that because that would mean that a lot of lives would be lost. Dr. Haddon, did you want to say something? No? Okay, thought I saw a hand. All right. Oh, Dr. Haddon, you are going to say something. How many surgeries on average does the shelter currently do each week?
We do roughly 100 every week, and that's with 3 surgery days. And that includes everything. We try to do 3 to 4 surgery days a week, but because of the lack of surgeons and my other responsibilities, I can only do so much. So I usually do 1 to 2 days a week, and the rest is contract surgeons.
And that's still pretty impressive when you think about we're averaging around 380 surgeries a month. That's pretty impressive coming out of our little place here. How many contract vets? I think you answered that. You said 3.
Yes, we have roughly 2 to 3. One is somewhat irregular, and he'll usually do about 2 days a month. And he's skipped a couple of months now. We have 2 regular folks that are local here. One will do 2 days a month, and 2 days a month. And the other one does 2 to 4 days a month.
When you're looking at 4 weeks in a month, that's not very much. So people hear 3, well, what's the problem? And the problem really is surgery days. Be tough. Also another one, go ahead.
And just so it was asked if we've reached out to retired vets. I actually did reach out to one who used to work here, and he was not interested, but y'all need to understand private practice. You're lucky to have 2 local practitioners that can do anywhere near the numbers that we need done in a day. Most private practitioners are stretched at 10. You tell them they're going to do 15, and that is overwhelming to most private practitioners. This niche, this high quality, high volume spay neuter is a specialty. Not any Joe Blow retired vet can do it. Okay, I just want to make that really clear, because we're looking at 30 to 50 surgeries a day for this high quality, high volume vet. I think if you mention those numbers to any retired vet, he'll quit listening. Okay.
He or she.
Yes, he or she.
All right, another one that was asked is what we're doing, the status of recruitment for a second vet. Besides what we've always said is we've sent out those postcards on a regional level, word of mouth type of a thing. I've sent information on to a lot of professionals that I'm part with, seeing that if they know of anybody that would like to move somewhere nice and sunny. And the answer is they're looking for the same thing. It's a pretty demanding right now. So there's questions here that go along with it. Have you considered a sign-on bonus? Yes, we have. Absolutely, we have. And that just needs to be part of the recruitment. And I mean, it's a matter of getting the ad change and also the job description. Payments towards student loans. We can't do that one. When I came on board, I requested that instead of salary increases, that I could get my student loans paid. And they told me that based on the tax issues of paying something like that would be in my name, but it would be in the city that would be doing it, or the ASCMV doing it, that it's not possible. That's what they told me. I also know we can do sign-on bonuses because the city was doing it, trying to hire police officers as well. So I know that's possible. And then there is what Dr. Haddon addressed is the targeting recruitment of retired vets. And we're not really looking for a retired vet that wants to take it easy. We have to go full on 100%, like she said, 30 to 50 surgeries. And then the question is given the lack of applicants to date at the DA, so the county, Doña County has allocated about $165,000 for a new vet position. If you estimate 30% of the salary would be $115,000. The current salary range for the ASCMV is between $74,400 and $105,600. Given the lack of applicants to date, is it time to increase the advertised compensation to be competitive? And the answer is I contacted the county, and that position still is not filled with the county. So it doesn't seem to be currently right now a salary issue. It seems to be a position or lack of position issue. So if the salary or if the Doña County position is filled with the higher one, we'll look at that. I'd have to give a salary adjustment to Dr. Haddon because they'd be making more than her, but that can be arranged. And no, Dr. Haddon, you cannot apply for the Doña County position. Don't even think about it. So those are the questions that we have. It's 1:30. Is there any questions that I can maybe try to answer here with you right now? If you want, you can totally come off mute and ask a question. Okay. We'd like to thank all of you for coming today. I hope the questions were answered. I love how we did get questions. One person in this kind of collected all the questions from groups on Facebook. I love the communication that was made there and then sent them to me. And that was helpful because I wasn't getting 20 emails and all these questions. It was all on one, and I could go to the team, my management team, and kind of divvy out the questions and see what they would say for answers. So I hope you know that we are trying to be transparent. I was told that I have a knack of answering but not answering questions, and I apologize about that. If there's something you want more, please let me know, and we'll get you the information the best that we can. I'm not purposely trying to be non-transparent or to be elusive, I promise. So I look forward to seeing you all again. Again, if you have any follow-up questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those. Until then, we'll see you next month, January 2022, the first Friday of that. Thank you all very much. We'll see you later.